Welcome, Tommy.
Hi, thanks for having
welcome,
me.
everyone, to another episode of UFO
Damn it,
Man
how
Live.
could this have happened?
Oops. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of UFO Man Live. To my right, we have Tommy Highway. Down below, we have VERNVISION True Network. And in the left-hand corner, we have Jax from Paranormal Underworld. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Vern, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Glad you're here. Okay, tonight we're going to talk about this. This is our subject matter, everyone. Alien abduction, body marks, and trace evidence. Okay. I have a couple clips I want to play first, just so people get an idea of what the alien abduction agenda is. So let me see here. Let me get it set up. Okay. Okay, I'm going to bring up the screen, and while the video clip plays, I want everybody on the panel to please remain quiet. Thank you. Okay. Oops. Gotta start over. Hold on. Could you hear the sound?
Yes, sound was on.
Okay, there we go.
There's never been a phenomenon like this. This is completely unprecedented. Everything that happens on board is for a reason. Everything is logical, everything is rational, and everything is understandable with enough information. This was not a learning experience. It wasn't an experiment. They weren't trying to figure out what makes us tick. The evidence suggested that this was a program. There is a reason for this program to be put in place. That's what the evidence clearly points to. What was happening was that people were talking about this reproductive material. People were having sperm taken. They were having eggs taken. People report that they were having embryos injected into them and sometimes retrieved from them.
What we conclude is that maybe these people are creating hybrids, creating a special race of people with DNA from us, human DNA, and with the alien DNA, creating people that are, I guess, more intelligent, more sophisticated. And I have heard other people tell me stories alluding to that effect.
I began to hear accounts of abductees who were taken into a room and their attention would be directed to a screen-like device. And on the screen, there would be a scene of normal human activity. A picnic, kids playing ball, guys standing around a grill, people talking to each other. And they'll hear in their mind, can you tell the difference between you and us? And the person will look at the screen and say, no, everybody looks the same to me. And I'll say, see, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? Soon we will all be together. Soon it will be wonderful. Soon everybody will be happy. Now, you hear that once. It's not a pattern. You hear that once, you just discard it. Interesting, who knows? But when you begin to hear it over and over again, then suddenly it has different meaning. This is from other people who are not aware of this testimony. Then I began to have a series of very bizarre accounts but once again, fitting patterns that people were saying, where they know that in the future they have a job to do. These are abductees. And the job is to stand on the corner, and when panicked people come by to tell them it's okay, everything is all right, just keep moving this way. And they would practice that. And they would sort of do that. And they knew that in the future, this is what they would have to do. And then I began to understand that what they were telling these abductees, what these beings were telling these abductees, is that ultimately this is an integration program into the society, not with gray aliens most likely, but with these hybrids who look quite human. For years and years and years, people would write to me and say, oh, well, are adult hybrids walking among us? And the answer is absolutely not. There's no evidence whatsoever that that's the case. But the evidence that I've been getting recently in terms of the goals of the program is that that might be the case. I don't really know yet. It is possible. And I am embarrassed even to say that. I'm embarrassed. And yet, it fits the pattern of all the evidence that I've been hearing for the past 20 years. It's focused on hybrids. The reproduction is to reproduce hybrids. And it does appear to be an integration program, as crazy as that may sound. This is a technologically superior society by definition that we are seeing. And everything that is described is technologically superior. That is not the problem. The problem is that it's neurologically superior as well. They can control us neurologically, and they can do it from a distance. That makes them superior. And the question is, how do you stop a superior species from integrating, from doing what they want to do? I don't know the answer to that. If it was a matter of shooting bullets at them or anything like that, there'd be no problem. But the problems are much more difficult than you could ever imagine, and this will never be accepted as a reality until it is real, and that's too late. I'm very, very not optimistic, shall we say, about the future of this. I fear for the future of my children. Both of them are in their 20s now, and I just think that they're not going to have a future the way they think that they are, the way that I had hoped that they would. I'm very pessimistic about it. I fear for the future.
All right. In regards to abductions, it seems like we have a real phenomena going on, and people are actually reporting encounters with aliens where they are actually being taken upon vehicles, craft, discs, and yeah. And they're experiencing missing time. That would be unexplained amounts of time that just go missing, and you have no idea what happened to those hours. What do you think about the phenomena, Tommy?
Well, it's a very widespread phenomenon, and it's worldwide. And I was thinking of a story earlier about a lady by the name of, let me pull it up here, Kelly Cahill, I believe her name is. And she was actually abducted off a road. It was herself, I believe, and her husband. And then there were, another carload of people that they were not familiar with, a little bit further behind them. Well, both cars stopped to look at this craft sitting on the side of the road. And apparently a beam of light comes down, and out of that beam of light, a bunch of aliens, and apparently they're gray aliens, and they came running across the highway of all things. And the next thing that these people know, that I guess they'd been abducted because the craft was gone, and they're just standing right where they were before, or close to it. And if I may try to share a video with you here, let's see if I can share my screen. Can you see that?
Nope. Try it again.
How about now?
You know, the brightness of the light, it gives a good
Are you hearing anything?
Yes, yes, I see it.
The camera starts in August 1993.
My husband and I were driving up to my girlfriend's place in Monbulk.
Can you enlarge the video?
On Belgrave Hallam Road.
Sure.
And on dusk, I saw what I thought was round orange lights in the field. It looked unusual to me.
I guess I
Later
can't.
that night, retracing their route home,
That's all right.
Kelly noted something else unusual.
It's about a kilometre or so in front, so about twice the height of the treetops. We could see this object, which at first I thought was a blimp. It had the shape of a blimp, but it was light. As we got closer to it, it seemed to sort of separate, and it was actually these round lights, and they were orange. It appeared like there was silhouettes standing in these round orange circles, like people, but you could only see the black outline. Well, I just said to my husband, look, there's people in there. And the minute I said that, it shot off to the left of us. Within 1 or 2 seconds, it was gone completely. About a kilometre or two further down the road, as we kept driving, I came across what I thought was a screen or a wall of light across the road. And my heart started racing and the adrenaline was sort of pumping through my body, and I'm thinking, we've just seen this back down there. We're in for, you know, a close encounter. Then the next instant, nothing. We seem to have actually covered a fair distance that I don't even remember covering. It might have been possibly close to a kilometre, but I don't remember actually travelling. There was no light. There was nothing blocking the road.
Kelly says it wasn't until weeks later she remembered actually getting out of the car that night.
And I saw that there was another car that had pulled up 100 metres down the road. Then I walked around the front of the car to where my husband was standing on the other side, and we started walking across the road together. As we were walking across the road, I looked down and I saw that the other people were getting out the car and starting to walk as well. So I was quite happy that there was other people there who were seeing the same thing that we were. And we walked up along here to fences. Right out in front of us is this huge craft.
I was totally awestruck. You know, it was science fiction coming to life. There wasn't any fear then. It was just all total awe.
We stood here, I guess side by side, my husband and I, for about 30 to 45 seconds. Then this tall dark being just appeared in front of the craft, and he was followed by about another 7 or 8 that appeared straight behind him.
I felt this energy go through me. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. It was like some sort of low-level frequency that came in waves, but it was so dense that I could actually physically feel it going through my body. And that feeling absolutely terrified me. It was like, I can't even explain the horror that I felt just feeling this. And I began screaming. The minute I did, the eyes on these things lit up and they came charging across the field.
Halfway across, they split up into 2 groups. Some headed off down there, and the rest came directly towards us. I felt this blow to my stomach, and the next thing you know, I'm back here somewhere on the grass. It literally lifted me off of my feet.
And I thought I was going to die. I thought if I don't get up now, I'm going to pass out and I'm going to die. I'm not going to come back to consciousness, you know. So I pulled myself up into a sitting position, and when I sat up, I couldn't see anything, and it was like there was just black in front of my eyes. I want you to try stretching it down a little bit as well.
Kelly's not the only one who saw these images that night. For the first time ever, independent witnesses have given the same account of a close encounter. Even though Kelly has never met Jane, Glenda and Bill from the other car she saw, She has seen the sketches they drew for UFO researchers.
They've drawn the same circles of light around the top of the craft with these blue lines coming down, ending in a semi-circle on the ground. They've actually also drawn a tripod underneath, which was something I didn't see that night. It becomes very clear then that we were all looking at the same thing, each saucer-shaped craft. And basically, the second part, we were able to draw sketches of the beings very similar to the ones that I had, and they're not your usual little grey things that are, you know, media propaganda. I found a small red-coloured equilateral triangle underneath my navel, which I guess in reality provoked only a minor curiosity at the time. It was oddly geometric, and I did wonder, you know, how something like that could get on me that looked like a burn without.
At UFO conferences, where Kelly is now a keynote speaker, she adds strength to her own story by showing photographs of physical marks left on one of the other women.
We're all left with triangular marks under our navels, but the ones that were marks that were actually photographed, the first one came from Glenda, which is it's a series of 3 small red dots along the inner thigh, and both Jane and Glenda were marked with these dots. I wasn't. Glenda had a ligature mark around her ankle, which is quite severe bruising. It looked like she'd been strapped down to something.
UFO researchers have also reported finding physical traces of the site where all witnesses said the encounter happened, particularly in relation to what landed.
Inside that's essentially a triangular formation of 3 points spaced 6 metres apart, correspond with the tripod that was drawn underneath the girl's craft.
To this day, Kelly still doesn't know exactly what happened to her that night.
Tried a little bit.
Her most vivid memory is the fear she felt.
That's very good. It's finally come out to what I'm looking for. And I think a lot of people experience the fear in a nightmare where you're being chased or something like that, and it's a terror that sometimes can wake you up or whatever, but it's absolutely horrifying when you're dreaming it. And that's exactly what I was feeling while I was totally awake. That sort of terror, actually having to feel it while you're conscious and physically awake and feel it as a reality is like a nightmare come to life.
So my point being is that this is not a phenomenon that is native to the United States or Canada or North America, anything like that. I mean, these things are happening all over the world. We're talking Australia. You know, there are a lot of sightings in places in South America. So there appears to be something to this, because that many people, well, like you just saw in the sketches, that those other people that she didn't even know drew. I mean, it's clear that they all saw the same thing. At least in my eyes, it is.
Right. I would have to say honestly that how can, say, a person in a tribal situation, say in the deep jungles of Africa, who have had no contact with any kind of electronics, any kind of TV, any kind of internet, and they have the same exact experience verbatim, in detail for what they saw. For instance, they'll see a being, or maybe to them it's a demon or some type of deity at the end of their bed or end of their hammock or whatever they sleep on, okay? And they're taken away somewhere, unexplainable. And then it becomes part of their religion, like the Hopi and other tribal groups within the Americas that have stories about abductions. What do you think, Jax?
Well, I personally think that, I agree with Tommy, and I agree with the video that you had, the clip that you had shown. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and how you can get people to stop it is beyond me. I don't think anyone will be able to stop it.
Right.
I mean, for instance, on my right foot, on one of my toes, I do have a scoop mark. I have no recollection how it got it or anything, but it's there.
So you're saying like a lumpectomy, like somebody just took a tissue sample.
Correct.
Wow.
And that's I can't explain that. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea.
Wow. Do you have any recollection of missing time in your life or any type of encounter, any dreams or anything like that?
Well, I've had this dream where, because of course this was a suggestion also, but I did have a couple dreams where Vern and Q got picked up in a UFO, and they went, and I was in Massachusetts at the time, and it was so close it came down. I was outside on the deck smoking a cigarette, and it was so close to me that I could see Q looking out the window, waving, "Bye, Jax. Bye." And I got my arms up in the air because I'd be the first to admit, if they came down and said, "Come with us," I'm the first to go. I'd leave everything behind because it's a learning experience. I want to learn about their culture, how they do things, their technology, all that stuff.
I have no regrets.
No regrets at all.
What if they are hostile?
If they're hostile, then I guess I'm screwed, huh?
Yeah.
What are they hostile to?
Yeah, it hasn't been proven either way whether they're hostile or not. It just seems to be like an ongoing hybrid program within many different families across generations in different countries all around the world. And there is significant evidence to say that there is a definite phenomena happening. What do you think, Vern?
Well, I had to mute and I couldn't hear a word you said. So,
what do you think about the actuality of the phenomena? What do you think that it is there is credibility and validity to the?
I don't have to think about it at all. I already know.
Okay, can you explain why you know?
I just know. Personal experience, let's just say.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't really want to talk about what's personally going on with me right now because it's kind of embarrassing. So.
Okay, that's all right. That's fine. We'll go with that. I would have to say most people that I have spoken with find it difficult to speak about such a subject. Whenever I've brought it up on my channel or brought it up in polite society, people seem to back away from the subject, thinking that it's allocated to fantasy, myth, or legend, or that I'm crazy, or maybe the subject is, stupid.
It's almost taboo in a way.
Right, exactly. And I almost wonder if that isn't being done on purpose by media to make you think that it is a stupid subject, that it wasn't real, that it didn't happen. Because like Jack said, he has that scoop mark. I have a round welt with 6 punctures in it that I've had since January of 2009, and that happened overnight. Didn't have it before I went to sleep, woke up the next morning, it was there, and I had an encounter with a dark being in a hooded robe in my living room. So I do know things happen. Whether we can control them, I don't think we can control them. No matter how much we talk about, how are we going to stop them? Well, how are we? It's like an ant trying to stop a human from stepping on it. It's not going to happen. We're not going to be able to. Are we going to be able to communicate with them? There is a possibility, maybe, but I think we're far away from that. Okay, I have another video clip. It is about Betty and Barney Hill. Betty and Barney Hill were credited with the first publicized alien abduction, although alien abductions have gone much farther back than Betty and Barney Hill. And there are records and testimonies online at theblackvault.com if you ever want to check on it. Okay, here, let me see if I can get this going here. Okay, share my screen. Okay, let's see here. All right. Oops, forgot. Hold on. I always make that mistake. That should be automatic. Okay, here we go.
Had a vacation from her job as a social worker for the state of New Hampshire. Barney worked for the post office. Neither believed in UFO reality at that time. They had never read a book on the topic. They took a brief vacation to Niagara Falls, onto Toronto, onto Montreal, and they were driving home through the White Mountains of New Hampshire on September 19, 1961, when they had a close encounter with a UFO. It came so close that it was within 100 feet, estimated by them, of their location. Barney got out of the car with his binoculars. He looked up at it, and according to the Air Force report and the report that they made to the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, very shortly thereafter, they observed a craft that was approximately 100 feet above them. It was extremely large. They told the Air Force that it was as large as a dinner plate at arm's length. Keep in mind that an aspirin will cover the full moon at arm's length. This was very close to them. It was observed by at least a dozen additional people. It was on radar on the Air Force's 2 radar stations, and a follow-up study by the Air Force stated that this was a bona fide sighting, not just a blip on the radar screen.
So he got out, Barney got out of the car and he got his binoculars out. What did he see through? This really surprised me, what he saw at the windows of the craft with his binoculars.
The early reports state that Barney saw figures standing behind the windows on this craft. They were dressed in black, shiny uniforms, and he described them as being, quote, somehow not human, close quote.
So he very quickly ran towards the car because a red beam of light came out of this spaceship, and he ran towards the car, said to Betty, we need to get out of here, we need to get out of here. And there was a noise, a sound, and they felt this sort of feeling come over them. And then they woke up and realized they'd lost 2 hours of time.
Yes, Barney became terrified when he began to think that there was a plan for him. And he said, quote, that he was going to be captured like a bug in a net. He ran from the field he was standing in back to the vehicle, jumped into the car, and started to race down the highway to try to escape from this craft that had, at that point, moved over the top of the vehicle. He told Betty to roll down the window. She did. She looked up. She expected to see lights. There were no lights present. All she saw was blackness, even though it was a bright light night. The moon was about 3/4 full. She rolled the window back up again, and at that point, the car started to vibrate. She and Barney heard a series of buzzing sounds striking the trunk of the car, and suddenly they found themselves in a new location. And they were 35 miles down the road with very little memory for what had happened in the interim. They did recall that they had encountered a roadblock somewhere along the way. They had also observed a fiery orb. They did not know what that was. It was a vague memory. Later, they realized that it was moving, but they were not moving. They drove on to their home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and found evidence that something unusual had occurred to them.
Well,
Betty's dress was torn in several locations.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was coming on to that because the zipper on her dress was broken. His shoes were in such a mess that he had to throw them away. And your concrete evidence, which we said in the introduction, is quite interesting. The pink powder, explain that.
Betty's dress was torn in several locations. There was a 2-inch tear in the zipper fabric, the stitching at the top of her dress, a 1-inch tear in the thick zipper fabric. The dress was torn from waist to hemline, and the hem was torn down on one side. It indicated that something had happened that Betty could not remember. It had been in fine condition when she put it on that day. She folded the dress up when she arrived home and put it in her closet, knowing that she would have to repair it. The next time she took the dress out, it was covered with a pink powdery substance, not the entire dress. Some of it remained blue, but the pink powder discolored the fiber in the dress and degraded the fiber.
Did you have it analyzed? What was it?
It is one of the pieces of concrete evidence. It has been analyzed in at least 5 scientific laboratories to date. And the finding is anomalous. They have found proteins on the dress. They have found oils on the dress. They know that they did not belong to Betty. The dress is most deeply saturated with the pink substance in the areas where Betty stated that these non-human entities actually touched the dress.
Is it of this planet?
They were not able to determine whether or not this was of this planet. Certainly some of the material on that dress was. There was dirt, there was bacteria, there were those sorts of things that would be on any article of human clothing, particularly after it had been sitting in a closet for a long period of time.
Really does remain a complete mystery, doesn't it? And it's absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So that is another piece of evidence. Betty and Barney Hill were considered to be credited with the original sightings. This is Betty and Barney Hill. This is Barney showing his the craft that was seen, and the beings were standing in the window. He drew a picture. He had a sketch artist draw a picture of what they look like. This is what they look like. They were wearing a shiny black uniforms with like a cape. And when they look directly at you, the one on the left is what they appeared to be. When Barney and Betty were on the road, this is a rendering of Barney getting out of his car, seeing the craft, how close it was, the beings in the window, and the beings on the ground coming toward the car. To this day, this has not been proven inaccurate or false. It has been proven to be a legitimate encounter and most likely a legitimate abduction experience. Hold on a second here. All right, so let's go to the panel and see what the panelists think. Tommy, what do you think about this?
Well, Betty and Barney Hill, it's such an interesting story because, as you said, it was probably the first widely reported UFO abduction case at that time. Also, there was some physical evidence. We're talking about the powder on the dress, and that's very interesting. But the other thing that they didn't really go into was that the thumping that they'd heard on the trunk, apparently, whatever that was, at some point had actually caused some I guess they were like polished spots on the paint of the car. Now, on the trunk of the car rather. And Betty Hill was so perplexed by this that she actually got a compass and put it near there, and it started spinning around and around. I mean, this was like highly magnetic, whatever these things were. And I would be very interested in knowing whatever happened to that car, certainly. I wonder why that hadn't been analyzed. I mean, they kept the dress all that time, but they didn't analyze the car. At least I never heard of any analysis.
Right,
but,
I never did either.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a great deal of credibility as to who they were, especially back in those days. A mixed racial couple probably wasn't going out of their way to make let's just say they were not trying to attract attention, probably. So they really had no reason, in my opinion, to lie and create a story like this. And if you listen to especially Barney Hill under hypnosis, that'll send a chill down your spine. I mean, I absolutely believe this story. I believe that this happened, and it was probably pretty close to the way that the abductees said it did happen.
Especially where he's screaming under hypnosis. It's bone chilling.
Blood pressure going up and all that. I mean, he's having an emotional response.
Right. So, Vern, what do you think about the Betty and Barney Hill abduction event?
Well, like I said before, it's totally legit. It's one of the few go-to for the person who is trying to learn about this and whether to believe or not to believe. This is definitely the one that you want to, if you want to have real proof, real sincere proof. I mean, Betty described stars that she couldn't possibly know about, that they didn't until recently confirm what she had said existed. Impossible. So unless she was psychically, or hypnotized or something by somebody, and they put this information who had known about stars, things that NASA didn't even know about. Okay, so this is where you have to understand who knew about the star, chart. Okay,
nobody did at that time.
That's proof to me right there. She didn't make this shit up. She drew it verbatim, perfectly from memory. She was there.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep. Agreed.
And also, they were a couple in their day that was inappropriate, and for them to come forth and do their shit, they were absolutely putting their fucking lives on the line. So,
what other abduction accounts have you been aware of in social media or online that you feel are legitimate accounts of abduction?
Travis Walton.
Yeah, Travis Walton. Pretty good. And then there's another one with some guys where the guy disappeared for a week, and it wasn't Travis. It was like him though, but I forget what they were. They were loggers. Was Travis a logger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the other guys, the ones that were up there on the hunting trip.
I mean the.
Yeah, you're talking about the guys that were canoeing.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
That'd be the Allagash abduction.
And they went
that's it.
Missing, and he was gone for 4 days, and they found him. He was completely naked on the side of the road in freezing temperatures. It couldn't have been there for. People do take their clothes off when they get hypothermia. Okay, don't get thinking that he could have discarded his clothes at any time, but he was missing for where they had search parties looking for him, sheriff teams and stuff. So they would have found him, I think, or a trace of him, and to have him appear on the road and he had marks on him too. I think he had like some kind of weird burns or something like that on him too.
Okay, I don't think that was the Allagash. Allagash is where they returned to the canoe, and then they were back on the beach, and the fire had burned down to embers.
Yeah, that was another one too. The one I'm talking about, I think they were hunting. They were on a hunting or fishing trip.
Okay.
And,
go ahead.
Yeah, and they were in a camp, and it was the same thing with the fire. The fire was a roaring fire, and then the next minute it was dust. It was out, and none of them could remember what happened. They all had like really bad headaches, but the one of them was missing for a period of time, and had like all kinds of things done to him. But he didn't really remember it, but he had trauma, I guess is the word for it. So
there have been a lot of reports of people claiming to be abductees. Of course, we have a few crackpots in the mix, but you can easily discard them.
I have actually proof that something happened to me on my. I had a Garmin GPS that logged the event.
Oh wow, that is cool.
And it basically took me on a trajectory course. Before it stopped logging, it was 200 miles off course, and it said I logged four track marks that said I was doing 46,000 miles an hour.
Wow, that's impressive.
I would have liked to remember that because I definitely would have liked to know what it's like to
Wow.
do 1,000 miles an hour. But.
Yeah, what is the rotational speed of the Earth? Isn't it like 17,500 miles an hour?
It's around 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh, 1,000 miles an hour.
Almost 24,000 miles in circumference. It takes 24 hours for it to complete its circumference.
Right.
It's like 997 miles an hour or something like that.
So you were going 45 times faster than the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
But you have to understand, it did it with me in the vehicle. The Garmin was next to me in the vehicle. Okay, so it was not my person; it was actually not in the vehicle. So in order to have done that, they would have had to take the whole vehicle. Now, the other thing too that's weird is that I went through 4 Garmin GPSs in a period of time, in which one time the Garmin called me back and asked me if I put it in a microwave.
Wow.
Because it was completely fried, and they said, like, and I'm like, it cost a lot of money to have them fix it. So for me to have, done that, I'd be pretty stupid. It was a very high-end, expensive piece of equipment that, for me. So, and I used it in my vehicles to verify my speed a lot of times, the speed limit.
Right.
My tires are, in trucks, they put the speedometer off. So, but yeah, another time, which was weird, is that this is like kind of off subject, but I don't know how far. Hillary Clinton was campaigning for president against Obama, if you remember right, way back. Okay, well, she came to Carson City, and coincidentally, right as she went on air, I was exactly as the crow flies, about a mile and a half to 2 miles from her, on another road driving home, and right when she came on the air, my GPS failed, and it was it was fried. And I think that might have been the microwave one, or one of them. They said it was by microwave. So I wonder if they used a bullet or something like that and blew it up.
Wow.
Because I heard they can do that with GPSs. They can send a signal to them that fries them. In case they're weaponized, and maybe they detected my GPS, thinking, "Why is there a GPS within a mile or something?" I don't know.
Right.
But it was right when she went on and she spoke that I noticed my GPS went immediately offline, and that was it. It never worked again.
So you've had difficulties with your electronics.
Yeah, ridiculous problems. I suffer from acute electronic phobia.
Okay.
I mean, I've walked into Walmart and Best Buy. Like, there was a time when I'd walk in there and I would literally have to take a rain check every time because their computer system would go out, or I'd be delayed. Let's just put it that way. I'd walk up, the minute he goes, "Uh-oh, that's not good." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "The system just went down." I'm like, "I just walked up here." You know what I mean? And it happens like 5 or 6 times in a row. And I was just like, "Oh my God, I didn't think I've been to Best Buy except with these guys. I didn't go back there for so long."
I heard that you interact with power poles or light poles as well.
I do.
Yeah. Didn't you mention that once before, that you went near some light poles and they flickered?
No, I actually went to visit a friend of mine, and for some reason, it was foggy that day. But I mean, it was not dark or whatever. Just for some reason, and he's told me, he goes, "The lights never stay on," and for some reason, the lights stayed on that day. And instead of being a high pressure sodium orange, they were turquoise. They were right here.
Yeah. Okay.
I have pictures of it, and he's like, and he was baffled too. And then the minute I left, he said that they went back to being amber or orange.
Do you think maybe some type of alien interaction may have caused that in you?
I don't think it's in me. I think when you have them interfere with law enforcement, that they're around you all the time.
Yeah. And you say interfere with law enforcement. Can you?
I can't on the grounds that it might self-incriminate me, but I can tell you this, that they have interfered in the duties of a officer with his intent to, let's just say, detain me by, stopping me or whatever.
Okay. All righty.
With like their caution lights engaged and siren.
Right.
And they were unable.
It's just another reason to believe that there is some type of interaction going on amongst us, amongst the human population in regards to affecting our daily lives.
You have to understand, for them to interfere with law enforcement, that's a humongous step right there. They don't usually, there's very few law enforcement officers that report any such activity. There has been some, but for the most part, I think they leave them alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have in my area been surrounded by the police because they thought I was doing something else, and when they checked me out, I was all cleared and everything. I actually have that one on video too, but I'd actually talked to one of the officers because they were asking me what I was doing, and I mean, you're reluctant. You don't want to have to tell them because either you're gonna get a laugh or you're gonna get I've heard it all now, and yet these officers both looked at me and said, "Okay, that's cool," and I was like, "That easy? No, it's never this easy," and I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, like talk to him. And he goes to the other police officers down there and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he had seen him too, obviously, but he couldn't say he did because that would have been a problem.
That's kind of like last year when we were doing lives and we were discussing alien intervention and things like that. I told everyone in the group that I had that sheriff contact me, sheriff's deputy, and he was going to come clean online about some UFOs he filmed. But right the day of the live, he supposedly got warned somehow not to do that.
I'm still suspect on that guy, though. I mean, really.
Yeah, he reneged.
Yeah, I know, but that guy was pretty flaky to begin with. So that's
a little bit, maybe, yeah. But he reneged. What was weird about it is after he reneged, he posted his avatar as being him in full uniform. So that's hard.
Well, anybody could have been a cop who isn't a cop anymore who got a Section 8 orders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I do know some police officers locally that have seen things and have told me so in confidence. So I cannot reveal them here, but I do know for a fact that they are encountering things because they're out at all times of the day.
Sure.
Nighttime, daytime, even people who are driving ambulance and such see things. Mm-hmm. But alien abduction, the idea that a being or beings are coming through your wall or entering your house somehow without using our locking systems, meaning you're locked inside your house, you think you're secure, and they're coming inside your house and they're taking you into...
Tim?
Yes.
When you talk about locking yourself in your house, how secure do you think locks are really?
They're not real secure. I mean,
I saw this thing that they have a lock picking device now that like you just put it in the key, you press a button, and it unlocks any lock immediately.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but the sense of security is there. I mean, you have a sense of security,
right?
And when, in regards to aliens, okay,
remember Close Encounters where they're unscrewing the vent screws, from the inside.
Yeah.
You're dealing with technology that is literally beyond even that in the movie. Okay.
Oh, of course, that's what I'm trying to get.
The roof off, they come in and put it back, and you wouldn't even know it happened because they have the ability to traverse matter. Okay,
Yeah, they can come through your wall.
They can come
Yeah.
through the power outlet if they want to.
Yeah, they can. They can.
I mean,
come through.
I've seen them go into power lines, okay, so and into the solid ground and not leave a mark, okay, and they change from a disc into an energy type of beacon because they're going interdimensionally. They're not traveling in the same world that they are projecting that orb-like light in. Okay, that orb light is just a marker for them to be able to reflect back so that they have an ability to know that they're here, but they can travel without having to worry about us shooting at them or anything like that. I don't know why the light did what it did that night. I really don't. I don't have an explanation, but it literally almost caused it to wreck into me. And you know what I mean? Like, so they're not they're probably delicate. They're probably fragile on one hand. Okay. So, you know, our most brutal weapons may not be a threat to them because maybe that's not what threatens them. Okay.
Right.
Because if they can travel inside of a sun or something like that, what is a nuclear weapon going to do to them? Nothing, you know?
Right.
But if you blind them and they run into something, that could be a whole different story, you know? Don't know. You know, vulnerability lasts, you know, like what was it with the giant and Jack, you know, how did he end up killing the giant?
He cut down the beanstalk.
Right. So there you
go. Yep. Well, anybody else have a comment on the panel before I play one more clip? No? Okay, let's see here. Oops, gotta go back. Hold on.
Wow, Jonathan, your brother just said the coffee machine kicked on by itself today.
Wow, cool.
Now, if we could do it every day, that would be like.
They do. What are they like? Well, one New South Wales woman not only claims to have met with creatures from another planet, but has taken part in what she calls an alien breeding program. Her name is Jane Pooley, and she sat down with Ita to not only share her beliefs, but also put them to the test.
It's a story you could be forgiven for thinking had been dreamt up by the most creative Hollywood scriptwriters. But this is the story of a retired nurse from the Central Coast of New South Wales. This is Jane Pooley's story. Jane describes herself as a lifelong alien experiencer and claims she is an alien abductee. The mother of 3 hybrid babies, humalians, a mix of human and alien DNA, who live in a spaceship. She's also the mother of 2 human children who live on planet Earth. Before I sat down with Jane, she voluntarily sat a lie detector test, or polygraph. She underwent this test 3 times.
Have you been part of an alien breeding program?
Yes. There are 3 important questions. Did you meet an alien? Do you have part alien children? Have you been part of an alien breeding program? No deception was indicated. So,
as I would expect.
Jane's first experience with aliens, or greys as she calls them, happened when she was a toddler.
I was in a white painted cot and I pulled myself up and looked up into the beautiful eyes. I thought of him as the man with cow eyes at that age.
Did he talk to you in English?
In English, yes. In language I would understand, but telepathically, no sound. I found instinctively that I could talk back to him the same way. It was just there. We went up into a spaceship. We went into, if I think back then, rather as an adult looking back, we went into a brown silver room and I lay on a table that was cold, and above me was pictures of I now know, pictures of my organs, but I had no idea what was going on. There were just things in the air. And I would now translate that or describe that as a hologram. Though at my age, I don't think holograms existed then.
How long do you think you were away at this particular point in time? Didn't your mother miss you?
Well, that's a good point. They definitely do something to us, as in the abductees, for want of another word, experiences. They either hypnotise us, either chemically or in some other way. I mean, we have a drug called midazolam on Earth. It's similar to only having a light dose of that. And Mum just didn't wake up. And I think they do something to the people around you too. I might have only been gone 10 minutes. I have no idea. How do you tell time at that age?
The Greys have always been a part of Jane's life. To her, they're no different than a person from another country.
I think of them as a different race. They may be a different species, but they appear to be just a different race to me. My children on Earth are part Dutch, part Anglo-English. So, you know, that's a mixed race, or a hybrid if you want.
Do you have part alien children?
Yes.
You claim to be the mother of 3 hybrid children, Humalians. So how were they conceived?
They were conceived in the usual way. Both the human father and I probably have some alien DNA already in us. And then at about 12 weeks, I was taken up into the spaceship again. I have a clear memory of this.
So that's where you had sex too, wasn't it, in the spaceship?
Yes.
Yes. So you.
A lot of people might make a joke about the Mile High Club.
All the children were conceived on the spaceship?
Yes.
Did you have any say in that?
No. And, you know, I'm making the best of this story and I'm trying to be lighthearted about it because I've been through my grieving process and I still have days I'm upset about it and I miss the children. So I say they were kind to me and they consented and I want to defend the race because I feel almost part of them as if they're family.
Where did you give birth?
Well, they were taken from my uterus in the spaceship, but here I had to have DNCs and there was no...
Correct?
Yes, I beg your pardon. And doctors were confused every time.
So they removed the babies here?
No, they removed the babies in their hospital.
Then you had to go to hospital to have a bit of treatment.
Well, I did, yes.
So you only went to a 3-month term or something like that?
The longest one was 5 months.
And then the babies were put into some sort of test, some sort of humidity or something in space?
Yeah, they've got way more advanced medical technology than we do. There's no question about that. But here I would have an ultrasound and there would be a fetus on the ultrasound and I would have positive pregnancy tests and then suddenly the baby would be gone without any evidence of that.
But if you carried a baby for 5 months, someone must have noticed you were pregnant.
Oh, no, I went to a doctor and it was confirmed that I was pregnant.
Where was your husband? Your Earth husband?
I was divorced by
You were
mistake.
divorced?
Yes.
Okay. Jane misses her Humalian children, much like any parent separated from their child here on Earth, and her face beams when she talks of them.
I've got a girl called Claire and then a boy called Jude and then another boy called Heath. And then Claire has married another, for want of another word, Humalian in their society and his name's Gabriel. They obviously have grey names, but I had to give them some names. And she has a baby called Amelia. They look quite human, only small. So my daughter would be quite tiny. So that's not really my genes, that would be the grey genes. She looks like a normal woman, she's just got small boobs.
So you be the judge. Is this mild and unassuming woman telling the truth, as the polygraph expert claims, or does she have an imagination that would rival the world's greatest storytellers? No one listening to this conversation would really believe it. A lot of people just think, oh my God, that just cannot be true.
Well, they're welcome to do that, but I can't agree because statistically 85% of the world claim they believe in life on other planets. And
Do you have some proof? Do you have a
still
selfie?
over the net.
Do you have a selfie?
I would love a selfie. I would love my children to stand here and meet you.
Yeah.
But
how do you talk to them?
Both. I can speak to them telepathically or audibly because they're human as well.
So they can speak English?
Yes, they can.
And you only seen them this once?
Yeah, well, yeah. I remember. That was in response to me basically chucking a little tanty in my head. You know, this is not fair. I'm sick of this. I want answers. I want to know why, where I went last night and why, and I want to meet my children. And, you know, within a short time of thinking that and crying for them, I was taken and I got to meet them and I got to hug them. And they were physical beings that I could touch. And it was, I tear up just thinking about it. It was a very emotional time. And
would they like to meet their siblings?
Yes, of course they
Earth
would.
siblings?
Of course they would. And why am I here would be to acknowledge them. I don't want to say my children don't exist when they do.
But why have you decided to do so?
Because I wanted to acknowledge my Humalian children. I didn't want to deny my own children any longer. Plus, I intentionally waited till my Earth children were adults so as not to embarrass them. And I guess you get to an age where the truth is really important to you, and I felt I needed to come out.
Okay. That's just reinforcing the idea that alien abduction is a hybrid program. And they're doing medical experiments. Now, I do have some pictures to show, and I have a comment to make about those pictures. My idea is that, well, actually, there have been reports that human beings have been seen on board alien vehicles alongside alien graves. The reason why I think this might be a plausible possibility is some of the marks received by people after alien abductions seem to resemble marks that you would get during radiation treatments. And I can show you a couple, and then Tommy will go to you. But here, this looks like it could be a human mark. This one. This one here looks like a target of some kind.
Yep.
And that one right there. Unknown as to the source of these marks. But how about this one? A fluorescent mark.
That's interesting.
Some of these marks, in my opinion, are man-made. This one may not be, not sure. I'll give you some more examples. Here's one here, 7 burns from an abduction case. Here's another one, like a grid pattern. Here's what looks like a triangle. Okay, I'll show that one. Okay. Here's the scoop mark. Jax, is your scoop mark anything like that? You got to unmute yourself. You're muted. It does?
Okay, now talk. Go ahead. You can,
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My scoop mark isn't that dark.
Right.
But it's got that bold shape.
Something like that?
Hold on. Yes.
Okay. My sister has one of those as well. It was unexplained, and she got it after my brother and my 2 sisters, along with her, witnessed a bright light outside our house in Valparaiso, Indiana, back in the 70s. So who knows? It could be a mark from some type of abduction event. Here's another mark seen on the face. Oh, I showed that one. People can have bruises like that. Here's one on a small child. You can see it on his arm. 2 grid patterns raised.
Weird.
And that's where it concerns me that if alien abductions are happening, how can we protect our children?
Oh, we can't.
We can't. Here's another bruise. There's another mark there. Let's see here. Here's a guy that's got like a triangular mark on his foot. Here's a lady that's got a really bad cut and bruise on her back.
Underneath,
There's a bruise. Now you see that right there, the three bruises. I actually had a couple of spots on my leg that looked just like that, and I actually took photographs of it. And when I can find them, I will bring them on a live stream. But that is legitimate right there. That is a legitimate mark. Now another thing is here, a bruise. And the last one I have of an actual mark given after an abduction event is this one here on a small child. It looks kind of triangular. Besides abduction marks on human beings, there have been many trace evidence events such as landing marks. Here's one. It left a scorched spot in the dirt. Here's one that was found in a parking lot. Here's one that was found outside a field. Farmer has no idea how it got there.
That looks like an impact crater.
Yeah, here's one right here of 3 marks, like triangular marks in this guy's yard. And he said that this actually was approximately 25 feet between each hole in the ground. This one here was on the hillside on a snowbank.
What is that supposed to be? The last one?
This one here, this is a landing spot. Landing trace.
I don't think that's a landing.
The person that actually saw it saw a disc that was sitting there, and when it took off, it left that mark. Also, this one here on a highway left a scorch mark.
Yeah, see, that one would be more interesting to study, because if that was a scorch mark, I'd like to see how the tar on the road surface and everything else was.
Right, and what type of
what happened to the tar and everything? How, because it looks like it's
any radiation there or anything like that.
That is not a uniform mark. That looks like somebody had a spill and the vehicle caught on fire, to be honest. You see where the middle of that heat is there?
But then,
and you can almost see like the vehicle front end where it was. You know what I'm saying right there? That white area there? Because that looks like chromium.
I can tell you from my experience working with the government is that every state that has roads, they know the exact chemical composition of their asphalt or whatever media they're using for their roads. And they're real serious about that. I mean, they've got laboratories that you would not believe that are testing for different formulations. But my point being is that they know exactly what's in there. So it wouldn't take much for somebody to pull a piece of that up, not even very much of it, and have something like that tested.
Yeah. Right. And they would, if it was like something that was like crazy, you would.
Yeah, they would have done that.
It really looks like it was a vehicle fire, because you can see like the oil around the outside of it on the other side. And that's typical of how it burns into the lane.
Yeah, I would look at that and I would almost think that that's been some kind of an accident there, not necessarily. Yeah. But I mean, I could be wrong.
There's something really weird in that picture, though. Do you see that thing, that shadow in the front? If you go back to that picture, there is something weird about that, though. I just noticed right there,
right here,
right in the very front of it. It looks like there's almost like a creature, like a. I mean, it looks like a bat wing there. You see that?
yeah, I see it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
almost looks like a demon. I guess of whatever demon looks like. I mean,
this is supposedly a landing spot in Ghana.
Okay, that's still really kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, here's another one.
That one's interesting.
Yes, it is.
Because that also could be a type of fungus that grows around like that too. Did you know that?
Well, here are 3 pictures of the same thing, okay? The top picture is at 10 minutes after the actual landing, then 16 hours in the middle, and then I think 2.5 days later.
I know this one. There were tests done on that, and they found like cellulose and some strange other things. There's also marks around the trees around this site.
Right.
This is the one where the family, the son saw it, went and got the parents. Parents came out with a Polaroid, took a shot of it, which is what you see up top there,
and it was glowing.
Right. And then the mother apparently touched it with her finger, made physical contact with it, and she had all kinds of problems after that.
Yeah, I remember that. She died from it, didn't she?
I'm not sure if she died from it, but she had all kinds of problems.
Right. And I think I have one more here.
When the stuff doesn't grow back in the area for a long time, then that's different. But like I said, a lot of times there's natural phenomena that are a lot of times mistaken, and people embellish it. They go, "Oh, let's say a UFO landed here and stuff." You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I've seen UFOs, and I've seen them over places, and they don't leave a mark, dude. They are really good at what they do. Trust me.
Right. I understand that.
There's just something wrong with the vehicle, maybe.
What if the vehicles are not necessarily 100% alien in nature? Maybe they're partly man-made,
or
they're leaving marks. Pardon me?
Or they're a different variety of alien.
Or they're a different variety of alien with a different technology. Exactly. In regards to this picture here, the gentleman said that his animals refused to go near the circles. They would stray away from him. He had sheep. That's why the grass is down so low.
Mm-hmm.
The sheep would not go near the circles. They would stay away from it.
Which once again could be an environmental. I mean, sheep are dumb, but they might be able to detect that there's something wrong there that's like toxic. You know what I mean? That they eat.
Right. That is true. That is true. We're looking at both the pros and cons here. So yeah,
that's a really rare thing because sheep will eat the ground if they can. You know what I mean?
Sheep will eat anything. So for them to stray away from something like the circles here, something obviously is going on, some type of phenomenon, whether it's alien induced or otherwise. You're exactly correct.
Yeah, they don't even avoid the slaughterhouse. So
right.
They try to trample each other to get in. So I mean,
yeah, that's sad. Okay, so going back to alien,
it says a lot though, because if they are avoiding those things, then what the hell is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I say something is going on there. Whether it be alien induced or otherwise, something is happening in that area.
Agreed.
Okay, here's a picture of a stereotypical alien abduction scenario. You have a light coming in the window, you have an alien at the end of the bed, and everything proceeds from there. Here's another picture that everybody's familiar with in the UFO community. You might be dragged down a hall to where you're put on a, hold on a second here, to where you're experimented upon by you-know-who, the Greys. Okay. After an abduction event, what my point is this. After an abduction event, a lot of people don't necessarily remember Greys. They remember something else. And that is referred to as a screen memory. And two of the most popular screen memories to date are this.
You want my fucking sperm? How many gallons do you want?
Owl.
All day long for you.
Because of the two black eyes.
If you want to pick through my shit, fuck yeah.
Angry wolf has been reported.
Just don't shove shit up.
And I think it's so that you can, so people are scared away and not looking into finding out what actually happened. So yes, there's the owl and the wolf. These are common screen memories. Yeah. So, let's see here. Yeah, Vern, you almost look like it. Okay, so most people say, well, abductions can't really be happening because you were asleep. So how do you know it wasn't sleep paralysis? Okay, well, they say at least 73% of all abduction events are remembered in a waking state, meaning people are awake. They recover the memory as if someone was in a car accident and remembers that it happened. So yes, there is significant evidence to say that alien abductions are occurring, or abductions are occurring. I still tend to believe that aliens are working hand in hand with mankind, and that there is I don't know, almost a false flag scenario going on. Because what did the military-industrial complex say in regards to a threat? Tommy, do you know what I'm talking about? How the military-industrial complex always needs a threat to fight.
Sure.
And that the final card is an alien invasion. So if the public is made to believe that alien invasions, alien abductions, alien incursions are real and that they're a threat, then we can funnel all that extra money into the military-industrial complex to defend ourselves and do what President Trump did, create the Space Force, militarize space.
Well, that's going to happen.
So it's kind of like...
Okay, my whole thing about militarizing the space and having people become spacemen is that it's not practical for human beings to be fighting wars in space. It's not. Maybe machines or whatever to do it for us that are robotic in nature. Maybe even artificial intelligence where they can, and androidic, where they can go and operate, and report back and stuff like that. But pretty much what we're going to have to do is be warned. We're going to have to be warned of something going on. And if they can do what I've seen them do, they're already here. Okay. So we're wasting our time and money trying to defend against something that's already here. And what we need to do is we need to reach out and find out why they're here. Because we may want to actually assist them and why they're here. Maybe they're here actually not to take us over because they've already taken us over, but they're actually here to help us because right now, currently, there's a gentleman who's been reporting to Tim and myself who lives in England, and he lives by a power plant, and the power plant is a massive nuclear complex. And they had an explosion there a little while ago that shook the ground, he said, enough to where he hasn't. I asked him, like, how have you been feeling, and apparently he's been sick and stuff, like maybe sickened by what's going on. Well, there's things that are operating around there right now, and I have no doubt that they're there monitoring the nuclear activity going on because I think they have a nuclear leak. I think they're leaking, and I think that they're trying to keep it completely, under wraps and all that. But these things are operating around that. He's coming in very close contact with, and I've seen the same kind of activity here, and here we have super volcanoes. So I think they're here actually for all intents and purposes. They're here to support us, to take care of us actually, where we can't take care of ourselves. They're going into. They've been spotted going into volcano vents, down active volcano vents. I mean, we don't have any technology that can go down into an active volcano, do we?
No.
And so maybe they're doing stuff we cannot absolutely do that is critical for our survival, or maybe survival of certain populated areas, because, a lot of populated places are located, like look at California. California is located in one of the most unstable areas in the whole world, and it has the largest population of people.
Right.
What kind of nonsense is that? You know what I mean? But that's how humans are. Humans are like sheep,
Also has the largest number of reports of UFO sightings as well.
But where is safe on this planet? Because when a place you might think is safe might be actually the most unsafe place. You never know. You know what I mean?
Well, I know I live in a very unsafe area because I'm right on the edge of where the destruction from that volcano over by you, that big volcanic cauldron that would blow.
Yeah, but that would wipe out almost the entire United States, if not and part of Mexico too, and then go all the way around the world and wipe out and make a nuclear winter out of all of Europe and Asia. So I mean,
that'd be the end of the earth. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily the end of the earth, because the earth will recover, but it might be the end of mankind as we know it, because mankind is a fragile creature. I mean, everything on here that we call life, that we know of as life, that we've defined just about, is fairly fragile, except for some bacteria that lives in the bottom of the ocean next to vents, where the crustal plate is broken and stuff. And the conditions there are actually more harsh than in space. So it's possible that life can exist anywhere whatsoever.
Right, and in many different forms.
In forms, and maybe we don't even have, maybe the convergence of this place that we call our universe, or the space that we're in, maybe a convergence of where life and a lot of other things come in contact with, and the magic is maybe something so incredible that there isn't truly in nature beyond natural things doing natural things. Okay, chemical. You have chemical reactions all the time occurring. Life may be something that's not probable, but it might be artificially induced, even though that it's a natural thing. It's a natural progression.
Right.
It's like weighing out the things. Okay, you look at how human beings interfere with like breeding dogs and things like that. It's possible to influence completely life forms by doing stuff that they normally would never do, gene splicing, all that, on a scale that's so much bigger than we can do it. They can make any species they want. They can literally do anything. They can make you not even know your origin.
Right. Do you think that possibly we have been assisted in that area in gene splicing with creating beings that are other than what we are?
I would say it's more likely than not.
There have been abductees that have said that they've been told that the human genome has been altered many, many times over the millennia to get to what we have today as a modern day man. And there's a lot of those reports, actually.
And then I've also heard where they purposely have flawed it so that we cannot be the makers of our own destiny. That they keep us this way because they keep us contained. That it still could happen, but it's a lot less likelihood if most of us only live to be 50, 70 years old. If we were to live imagine if you were to live and change your aging process to 3 times your age, or 4, what you could accomplish.
Sure.
Right.
One person, and remember, one person pretty much, or a handful of people, you could probably count on one hand, is why we're talking and communicating today. Okay, so it only takes that one person to bring this. Mm-hmm. So we really are at odds. You know what I mean? It's really interesting, because if we did make a difference, if our technology finally supported our ability to have a lifespan that's more reasonable, we might be able to accomplish stuff that we might think is so far in our future that it could happen in our lifetimes even.
Yeah, there has to be some explanation for why records show that we used to live up to 900 years, and now we can't live past 70. There had to have been a change. Yes. But then again, like you've told me before, Vern, how were people counting years? How were years determined? How was time determined?
Well, was the Earth a constant? Was it still going around the sun at the same constants? We really don't have an ability to know this because we didn't have the science really there. And there's so many weird anomalies in our science that when they look into history, like they said that I remember learning this in geology, that they believe that the moon was not the moon that we have presently today, was 500 million years ago caught by the planet. And before that, there was no tides. And they somehow can tell there's no tides by the way the sedimentary rock was layered. But I kind of think that maybe it's possible that maybe there was other events going on. Maybe the Earth wasn't quite as big as it is now as far as surface-wise. And maybe part of the surface-wise is created more of a magnetic, indifference between the moon or whatever. But I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, Venus is a planet that barely spins. It spins the opposite direction. It has a massive anomaly on the bottom of it that looks like something got ejected out of it. And they try to every day compare Venus to the Earth as being global greenhouse gases, and this is what's going to be on. They are so full of crap when they talk like that. It makes me sick.
Yeah.
And they have, they don't talk about the true science that makes Venus the uninhabitable hottest planet in the solar system, which Mercury you would have thought was hotter. But Mercury doesn't get as hot.
Because of its vicinity to the sun.
Well, no, it has to do with how it's spinning in orbit. It takes 270 Earth days to complete 1 day on Venus. And so that it's just baking it, where Mercury spins pretty fast, and it actually cools the planet down to be spinning. So if Mercury didn't sustain itself, it would just burn up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would make sense. Yeah.
It's within the coronal aura, isn't it? Or something like that.
Just outside of it.
Yeah. It's like, and it's moving. Mercury, that's why Mercury is, was the god of speed and all that. Is Mercury's flying around the planet. Trust me, it's moving. But it has to, or else it wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So
significantly smaller than the Earth, isn't it, in size?
Mercury is pretty small, but I think Pluto is quite a bit smaller. But Mercury is a planet. It's not a dwarf planet. There's a Ceres in the asteroid belt is an active dwarf planet, and it actually has methane spewing out of the center of it right now.
Wow.
Apparently they do. Yeah, and it's a perfectly round, and I think that's the core of that planet. Actually, that's what's left of the planet.
You think that's okay? I thought you thought maybe that what was spewed out of Venus is our moon.
It could be because the moon is hollow. And the moon must have been a smaller and expanded. And the astronauts said when they were on the surface of the moon that there was different colored ground, and on Apollo 17, and that it was lava flows, and that lava was flowing out of the moon. So I mean, that's really kind of huge, because that means that what is the moon?
It's got a molten core, is what it means.
What happened to Venus?
Right.
Because Venus looks like something ejected out of the center of it. I mean, it is flattened on one side. It's like talking about a flat Earth or whatever. Venus has actually a flat area where it went through like a major something or other. Like it got hot inside and boom, and Venus may not even be in the correct orbital path of where it is now, where it's really wobbling and it's barely spinning. So, and it's spinning the opposite direction. So something happened. And most of the planets, they go around because of the way that the motion, and the stuff is, it would make sense that everything would go. But Uranus is the other one that does some weird stuff. So, we know about Uranus. So, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Funny. Getting back to the alien abduction consensus. Let's go around the panel and have everyone give your last thought on alien abduction. What do you think about it? Do you think it's real? Can you give evidence to validate it? What do you say, Tommy?
Well, I think that take abduction just like you would, a UFO sighting. Okay, there are thousands of them every year, thousands of reported cases. And if you really, really take it down and you really investigate those, you're going to be able to weed a lot of those out as other things. Okay. People just saw something in the sky and they just assumed it was a flying saucer. Well, it wasn't. It was an Eda Joe's balloon or something. And I think abduction's the same way. There are people out there that clearly have had experiences. You can't really explain these uteruses that all of a sudden turn up empty from, a woman's pregnant, 3-4 months pregnant, and then boom, it's gone. She has to have a DNC procedure to take the rest of it out.
Right.
A woman when you have I'm obviously not a woman, but when you have a miscarriage, there's physical evidence of this. I mean, that things come out. Okay. And the fact that this isn't happening to these abductees, these women that are supposedly these seed mothers, if you will, I think that's just all the proof you need right there that something strange is definitely going on here. Now, to go back into the video, the last video that we watched, that lady from Australia, I think she was, or she was in Australia or whatever. You know why I don't go for that one? Basically, the reason is that every time you've ever seen one of these mothers, these seed mothers, if you will, again, just for lack of a better term, interviewed, this is a traumatic experience for them. I mean, they're not happy about this. They're not, they're not smiling about it. I mean, this is something that's it horrifies them and haunts them, probably 24/7. So anytime that a woman is almost cheery about it, I'm going to be a little skeptical on that. But I think by and large, this is happening. I mean, there's just too much evidence. Evidence is mounting, and it has been for decades.
Right. What do you think, Jax?
I agree with Tommy 10,000% on what he just said. But beyond that, I mean, just look at the evidence, going back to Betty and Barney Hill, for instance. They took several polygraph tests. Now, that being said, I do get that polygraph tests, they can be beat, but they took several and they passed every single one. And if I'm not mistaken, Betty Hill, right before she died, she actually took another one.
I think so.
And she passed it too.
And she passed it. So, I mean, going back to the Allagash abductions, I'm not aware of any, maybe someone else can, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they took a polygraph test. They just went on hypnosis.
Right. They just went under hypnosis. Exactly. But Travis Walton took polygraph.
Oh yeah, that's another case too. Now I forget what the gentleman's name was, the one that was causing the problems, that was, had, a record and all that stuff. He refused to take the polygraph test up until maybe within the last 10 years, he finally took one and passed it. No, he did take it, and he flunked.
Inconclusive.
Right. And then he took another one maybe like 10, 15 years ago or so, and he ended up passing that one.
Yep.
So there's definitely something, going on. I think alien abductions are totally real. I think that they are taking embryos and eggs and sperm, and crossbreeding them with their own kind.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jax.
Welcome.
And Vern, what is your synopsis?
Well, I think I pretty much covered it.
You pretty much covered it, did you?
Yeah, I don't want to tie everybody up, with such boring nonsense.
That's what we're trying to prove, that it isn't boring nonsense, that it actually is truth, that it actually is happening. There are people out there that are claiming that they have been abducted, but they're no longer calling themselves abductees. They are referring to themselves as experiencers. The reason why they're doing this is because of the ridicule that has been levied upon them by friends, family, the public, social media, social news,
society,
etc.
Society.
Right. Society as a whole. Exactly.
Tim, not to interrupt you, but I just got notification you went live.
Just now?
Just now. Did you hear that noise? That was the notification.
We're live.
Yeah, we're live. We've been live for over an hour, 35 minutes.
Well, Sandy was mentioning the other day that she wasn't getting our notifications, and this is how long it just took now. So for me to get
wow.
So
do
I
you
totally
think
understand.
StreamYard, or do you think that's YouTube?
It's what they're doing to us. I mean, that's obvious. They're delaying stuff. They're trying to muddy up the waters any way they can. They're definitely capable of doing this on the database side, where it's not even on the user interface. They can completely control your account. And when I took database programming, I'll tell you, the power that a DBA has is like God. Okay, and if you know what you're doing, they can do anything. They can do anything. And these are all Oracle databases, so there's no doubt that they're, fully AI.
Yeah, AI is really becoming kind of an interfering technology, I would say. Too much AI, too much Big Brother.
We'll do a show on that one day.
Yeah, we just don't have any freedom anymore. We will definitely do a show on that. Let's go to the chat room and see if anybody has any questions. Anybody in the chat room have any questions in regards to alien abduction, body marks, or trace evidence? You're not invisible, Heidi. We do see you. I want to welcome everybody, Pleiadian scientists,
Have an echo.
Sandy White, Guardian Rocket. Thank you for coming. Okay, we're going to wrap it up because I think we pretty well covered the alien abduction phenomena in this segment of UFO Man Live. I want to thank everybody on the panel, Tommy Highway, Jax from Paranormal Underworld, and Vern from VERNVISION Truth Network. Please go to Paranormal Underworld in a couple of days, and you'll probably be privy to seeing a brand new video concerning the Washoe Club. Would you like to talk about that, Jax?
Yeah, I guess something major coming up. We went to the old Washoe Club in Virginia City, Nevada, about 3 weeks ago, and we did a haunted historical tour there, and we are going back tomorrow night for an overnight stay at the Washoe Club. It has been booked. It's a done deal. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to go live from the Washoe Club, but depending on the signal up there, may not be able to. So it might be just a video uploaded, but I'm going to try my hardest to do a live from there.
Very
so
cool.
Go over to Paranormal Underworld and find out what's together. We'll find out what's going on over there.
Definitely.
Sounds great, man. I hear you got some new technology. What is it? A Nikon P900 with Wi-Fi?
Yeah, our friend Mr. D.B. Cooper purchased it was basically a kit. The Nikon P900 kit came with a couple of tripods and a couple of SD cards, 32 megabytes each. So we're going to go in with that too and see if we can catch anything.
Okay.
Make sure you format those new cards first, man.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll be looking forward to seeing what you may find.
Absolutely.
And hopefully everybody in the chat will be over at Paranormal Underworld. And if they do stream live, we'll attend their live stream. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. And thanks to everyone in the chat. Really appreciate your attendance. Take care and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.